We are here to welcome everyone to Town Square, the Suitland Federal Center.
You know, this is a big deal. It was Wayne Curry who actually put the Revenue Authority together and the Redevelopment Authority because he understood the opportunities that were waiting in this vibrant, great community.
The Town Square will be a vibrant, mixed-use, transit-oriented development that will re-energize and redefine the Suitland Federal Center area.
Cobra Johnson and Romney is the development manager of the project. They have guided us through all facets of the development, including the plan approval process, design, permitting, procurement, and now the construction. The CJR team has been a great partner, shepherding this massive complex and doing an all-around great job for us. I'm pleased to report that 59% of the contract dollars awarded to date for this project have been Prince George's County companies. We do have the talented firms necessary to complete a job of this magnitude.
Wow, this is huge for the Suitland community. Let's start with a round of applause. This has been 20 years in the making. It takes a village to raise a redevelopment project, and we did it. Suitland community, we stood together. If you live in Suitland, stand up and be proud right now for the work that we've done. Karen Anderson, Suitland Civic Association.
We're running together.
Yes, we did this together. I love
The new development will be a vibrant neighborhood, one that is walkable, environmentally friendly, and just a great place to live. It will be, as you can imagine, a fantastic development, and we are so proud of it. I smile when I say all this because the people of Suitland, in fact, the people of Prince George's County, frankly, of which I'm a resident, we deserve this kind of development. This is our time, as Mr. Victor would say, for greatness. This is our time. Of course, as you all know, if you strengthen the heart, the body can do great things. And we're going to get this project done right. And when we do, we will take this county to its next level of greatness.
What an amazing beginning to an outstanding project, Town Square, Suitland Federal Center. Thank you all for coming out. Thank the county executive. We're able to put this project on the map, but we're not stopping here because soon we'll have ribbon cuttings.
The census is the catalyst of American public policy. It shapes voting districts, and it determines how your public schools will get funded. Because this data is used in myriad democratic and economic functions, it's critical that we get it right. Unfortunately, the 2020 edition might be in trouble, which has caused concern among experts for the integrity of the country's most authoritative dataset. The census is centuries old, but this story starts at the conclusion of the 2010 census. The Bureau had shot past cost estimates on its way to the most expensive census per capita of all time.
So in 1970, it cost $16 to count each housing unit, and in 2010, it cost around $92 to count each housing unit. And this is all in 2020 dollars.
That's Robert Goldenkopf. His office rated the 2020 census on its list of government initiatives at a high risk of failure. A key reason? The funding just isn't there. Congress limited the budget for the 2020 census to the amount spent on the 2010 census.
The nation is getting more complex and less willing to participate in the census. And because the Constitution requires a complete count, the Census Bureau has to do more work in order to obtain that complete count.
So why might it cost more to count certain groups? This scene from an episode of Master of None gives some clues. It follows a cab driver back to his apartment, where he's living with at least 3 other adult men. So this one apartment contains 4 distinct households in New York City, a region of notoriously hard to count tracts. Census tracts are designated hard to count for many reasons. They could be full of renters, or they could have an abundant homeless population. Topographically complex regions are hard to count, as are tracts with limited access to broadband internet.
It's the people at the margins of society, more impoverished, don't speak the language. Then we have procedures to try to compensate for that.
Mr. Pruitt would know about the challenges in taking a census. He was director during the year 2000 count.
The last 2 to 3% of a census is very expensive.
Further complicating matters, a new proposal to change the census could further increase costs and affect response rates. The Department of Justice requested that the Bureau add a question about citizenship to the short-form decennial census.
The argument in the letter is that the Justice Department wants better data on where citizens are in the country in order to enforce the voting rights laws.
The citizenship question already appears in the American Community Survey, which collects data annually. It just goes to a much smaller portion of the country.
I can only do consequences, and I can say the consequences of acting as if you need this for the Voting Rights Act is inconsistent with the fact that it already exists.
A more complete data set on citizenship could give the Department of Justice more granular data to work with, but that would depend on an adequate response rate, and the national political climate might make that more difficult. Some people have expressed fear that the government might use census data to aid deportations or otherwise harm their communities.
We have experience in American history where being counted in the census did result in painful consequences for the Japanese who were interned.
Americans today have a historically low level of trust with their government. That fact paints an unsettling portrait.
Certainly today's environment, if you told the authorities where a lot of undocumented people live, the authorities would, I think, take advantage of that piece of information. That's their job. I think the chances of having anything like a complete census, if we have the citizenship question, is simply not the case.
There are proponents who favor a mainstream citizenship question. The general argument is that census data are used to apportion seats in Congress and distribute funds, but the Constitution requires the census to count for all persons. That's because the census is a survey of an economy that includes the contributions of residents who aren't citizens.
The stakes are whether we care about representative democracy. The inequalities already, economic inequalities, are severe. If you duplicate economic inequalities with political inequalities, then you simply have a different kind of society, and it's not a democracy.
So let me add to the complexity of the situation we find ourselves in. At the same time that we're solving for climate change, we're going to be building cities for 3 billion people. That's a doubling of the urban environment. If we don't get that right, I'm not sure all the climate solutions in the world will save mankind. Because so much depends on how we shape our cities, not just environmental impacts, but our social well-being, our economic vitality, our sense of community and connectedness. Fundamentally, the way we shape cities is a manifestation of the kind of humanity we bring to bear. And so getting it right is, I think, the order of the day. And to a certain degree, getting it right can help us solve climate change, because in the end, it's our behavior that seems to be driving the problem. The problem isn't free-floating, and it isn't just ExxonMobil and oil companies. It's us, how we live. How we live. There's a villain in this story. It's called sprawl, and I'll be upfront about that. But it's not just the kind of sprawl you think of, or many people think of, as low-density development out at the periphery of the metropolitan area. Actually, I think that sprawl can happen anywhere at any density. The key attribute is that it isolates people. It segregates people into economic enclaves and land use enclaves. It separates them from nature. It doesn't allow the cross-fertilization, the interaction that make cities great places and that make society thrive. And so the antidote to sprawl is really what we all need to be thinking about, especially when we're taking on this massive construction project. So let me take you through one exercise. We developed a model for the state of California so they could get on with reducing carbon emissions. We did a whole series of scenarios for how the state could grow. And this is just one overly simplified one. We mixed different development prototypes and said they're going to carry us through the year 2050, 10 million new crew in our state of California. And one was sprawl. It's just more of the same: shopping malls, subdivisions, office parks. The other one was dominated by not everybody moving to the city, but just compact development, what we used to think of as streetcar suburbs, walkable neighborhoods, low rise, but integrated, mixed-use environments. And the results are astounding. They're astounding not just for the scale of the difference of this one shift in our city-making habit, but also because each one represents a special interest group. A special interest group that used to advocate for their concerns one at a time. They did not see what I call co-benefits of urban form, and that allows them to join with others. So land consumption, environmentalists are really concerned about this. So are farmers. There's a whole range of people, and of course neighborhood groups that want open space nearby. The sprawl version of California, it almost doubles the physical footprint. Greenhouse gas, tremendous savings, because in California, our biggest carbon emission comes from cars. And cities that don't depend on cars as much, obviously, create huge savings. Vehicle miles traveled, that's what I was just talking about. Just reducing the average 10,000 miles per household per year from somewhere in the mid 26,000 per household has a huge impact, not just on air quality and carbon, but also on the household pocketbook. It's very expensive to drive that much. And as we've seen, the middle class is struggling to hold on. Healthcare, we were talking about how do you fix it once we broke it, clean the air. Why not just stop polluting? Why not just use our feet and bikes more? And that's a function of the kinds of cities that we shape. Household costs. 2008 was a mark in time, not of just financial industry running amok. It was that we were trying to sell too many of the wrong kind of housing. Large lot, single family, distant, too expensive for the average middle class family to afford, and quite frankly, not a good fit to their lifestyle anymore. But in order to move inventory, you can discount the financing and get it sold. I think that's a lot of what happened. Reducing costs by $10,000. Remember, California, the median is $50,000. This is a big element. That's just cars and utility costs. So the affordable housing advocates, who often sit off in their silo, separate from the environmentalists, separate from the politicians, everybody fighting with everyone, now begin to see common cause. And I think the common cause is what really brings about the change. Los Angeles, as a result of these efforts, has now decided to transform itself into a more transit-oriented environment. As a matter of fact, since 2008, they voted in $400 billion of bonds for transit as opposed to, and $0 for new highways. What a transformation. LA becomes a city of walkers in transit, not a city of cars. How does it happen? You take the least desirable land, the strip, you add, where there's space, transit, and then you infill mixed-use development. You satisfy new housing demands, and you make the existing neighborhoods all around it more complex, more interesting, more walkable. Okay, here's another kind of sprawl. China, high-density sprawl, what you think of as an oxymoron, but the same problems, everything isolated in superblocks. And of course, this amazing smog that was just spoken to. 12% of GDP in China now is spent on the health impacts of that. The history, of course, of Chinese cities is robust. It's like any other place. Community was all about small local shops and local services and walking, interacting with your neighbors. May sound utopian, but it's not. It's actually what people really want. The new super blocks, these are blocks that would have 5,000 units in them. And they're gated as well because nobody knows anybody else. And of course, there isn't even a sidewalk. No ground floor shops, a very sterile environment. I found this one case here in one of the super blocks where people had illicitly set up shops in their garages so that they could have that kind of local service economy. The desire of people to get it right is there. We just have to get the planners on board and the politicians. All right, some technical planning stuff. Chongqing is a city of 30 million people. It's almost as big as California. This is a small growth area. They wanted us to test the alternative to sprawl in several cities across China. This is for 4.5 million people. What the takeaway from this image is, every one of those circles is a walking radius around a transit station. Massive investment in metro and BRT, and a distribution that allows everybody to work within walking distance of that. The red area, this is a blow-up. All of a sudden, our principles called for green space, preserving the important ecological features, and then those other streets in there are auto-free streets. So instead of bulldozing, leveling the site, and building right up to the river, this green edge was something that really wasn't normative in China until these set of practices began experimentation there. The urban fabric, small blocks, maybe 500 families per block. They know each other. The street perimeter has shops, so there's local destinations. And the streets themselves become smaller because there are more of them. Very simple, straightforward urban design. Now here you have something I dearly love. Think of the logic. If only a third of the people have cars, why do we give 100% of our streets to cars? What if we gave 70% of the streets to car-free, to everybody else, so that the transit could move well for them, so that they could walk, so they could bike? Why not have geographic equity in our circulation system? And quite frankly, cities would function better. No matter what they do, no matter how many ring roads they build in Beijing, they just can't overcome complete gridlock. So this is an auto-free street, mixed use along the edge. It has transit running down the middle. I'm happy to make that transit autonomous vehicles, but maybe I'll have a chance to talk about that later. So there are 7 principles that have now been adopted by the highest levels in the Chinese government, and they're moving to implement them. And they're simple, and they are globally, I think, universal principles. One is to preserve the natural environment, the history, and the critical agriculture. Second is mix. Mixed use is popular, but when I say mix, I mean mixed incomes, mixed age groups, as well as mixed land use. Walk. There's no great city that you don't enjoy walking in. You don't go there. The places you go on vacation are places you can walk. Why not make it everywhere? Bike is the most efficient means of transportation we know. China has now adopted policies that put 6 meters of bike lane on every street. They're serious about getting back to their biking history. Complicated planaries here, connect. It's a street network that allows many routes instead of singular routes, and provides many kinds of streets instead of just one. Ride. We have to invest more in transit. There's no silver bullet. Autonomous vehicles are not going to solve this for us. As a matter of fact, they're going to generate more traffic, more VMT than the alternative. And focus. We have a hierarchy of the city based on transit rather than the old armature of freeways. It's a big paradigm shift. But those two things have to get reconnected in ways that really shape the structure of the city. So I'm very hopeful. In California, United States, China, these changes are well accepted. I'm hopeful for two reasons. One is most people get it. They understand intrinsically what a great city can and should be. And the second is that the kind of analysis we can bring to bear now allows people to connect the dots, allows people to shape political coalitions that didn't exist in the past. That allows them to bring into being the kinds of communities we all need. Thank you.
That's great. So, okay, autonomous driving, self-driving cars, a lot of people here are very excited about them. What are your concerns or issues about them?
Well, you know, I think there's almost too much hype here. First is, everybody says, well, we're going to get rid of a lot of cars. What they don't say is you're going to get a lot more vehicle miles. You're going to get a lot more cars moving on streets. There's be more congestion.
Because they're so appealing to, well, you can drive while reading or sleeping.
Couple reasons. One is, if they're privately owned, people will travel greater distances. It'll be a new lease on life to sprawl. If you can work on your way to work, you can live in more remote locations. It'll revitalize sprawl in a way that I'm deeply frightened. Taxis, about 50% of the survey says that people won't share them. If they don't share them, you can end up with a 90% increase in vehicle miles traveled. If you share them, you're still at around 30% increase in VMT.
Sharing them meaning having multiple people riding at once and some sort of intelligent ride sharing.
So the Uber share without a steering wheel.
Yeah.
The reality is the efficiency of vehicles, you know, you can do it with or without a steering wheel. It doesn't matter. They claim that they're the only ones that are going to be efficient electric, but that's not true. But the real bottom line is that walking, biking, and transit are the way cities and communities thrive. And putting people in their private bubbles, whether they have a steering wheel or not, is the wrong direction. And quite frankly, the image of an AV on its way to McDonald's to pick up a pack without its owner, just being sent off on these kind of random errands, is really frightening to me.
Well, thank you for that. And I have to say, the images you showed of those mixed-use streets, really inspiring, really beautiful. Thank you for your work, Gideon. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. Now, how long have we waited for this day? By a round of applause. All right. I think a little longer than that, but I will hold you to that. Good morning. My name is Nicole Kober. I am a principal managing partner of Kober, Johnson & Romney, and I would like to welcome you all to this amazing event. We are celebrating the groundbreaking ceremony for the town square at Suitland Federal Center. My firm, Kober, Johnson & Romney, helped lead the build-out team for this monumental project. So before we get started, and in true fashion, I want to make sure that I give proper shout-outs to people that are especially important in our community, okay? I want to say welcome to Councilwoman Danielle Glaros, former State Senator Gloria Lala, former U.S. Congressional Representative Donna Edwards, State Delegate Derek Davis, Barry Stanton, who is the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for the Public Infrastructure. Thank you, Barry. County Councilwoman Andrea Harrison, Chief of Staff Glenda Wilson, Ashley Sharp, who is representing Congressman Anthony Brown. And finally, Paul Rowe, who is the chairman of the board for Prince George's Housing Authority. Thank you all so much for attending. So many people, organizations, and businesses have come together to make this project a reality. So we should start by recognizing a couple of people who have made us get to this point, and they're here with you on the stage here. Thank you to County Executive Rashawn Baker for your vision and for believing so heartily in this project. I want to thank the people of Suitland who have been out with me this morning and in spirit all around for supporting the development of this project. I'd also like to thank the Redevelopment Authority for spearheading this project and for your hard work with keeping it moving forward. And the amazing power players on the development team who will bring this project to life for you all. So as you well know, this day has been more than 20 years in the making. There were many obstacles along the way, but now that we have assembled the right team, we are finally ready to realize this vision. The town square will be a vibrant, mixed-use, transit-oriented development that will re-energize and redefine the Suitland Federal Center area. This influx of business and community will be just the beginning of development and positive change in Suitland. We will have a number of honored individuals on this stage this morning to mark this historic occasion. And getting us kicked off today is our first speaker, Mr. Eric Brown, who is the director of the Prince George's County Department of Housing and Community Development. Mr. Brown and his team work tirelessly to provide rental assistance, home ownership assistance, affordable housing, and community development services to citizens in order to improve the quality of life for the citizens of Prince George's County. The town square is one more way that Mr. Brown's department is helping provide public services, facilities, infrastructure, and employment opportunities for the county residents. You all help me welcome Mr. Eric Brown.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to be here to help realize this dream, but the real credit goes to all of the people of this community and the wonderful team and partnership that was formed to realize this dream. I can't take any or all of the credit for this. The real credit goes to, a lot of this credit goes to Howard Ways, who led this effort, and the redevelopment team that did this. So I thank them for their efforts. All I did was sort of help guide and get out of the way when it was necessary, which is most of the time. But the main thing is that partnership. Partnership is what made this dream come alive. That's a partnership between the community, the developer, the county executive, and his whole team. So it made this all possible. This is a journey that, as many of you know, began many years ago. This journey is not ended, it is only beginning. The future is yet ahead, and there are many, many positive things coming to Suitland, and we look forward to them as we all work together as a team. So thank you.
Next, I'd like to welcome Mr. Stephen Paul. He is the Associate Director of the Redevelopment Authority of Prince George's County. Under Mr. Paul's leadership, the RDA has been a driving force behind the county's government implementation of this public-private partnership. Mr. Paul and his team have supported this project from the very beginning, and with their working with some of the most tremendous local businesses to make it a reality. You all please help me welcome Mr. Stephen Paul.
Good morning. I started working on this redevelopment project as the project manager when I first arrived at the Redevelopment Authority 13 years ago. But even before that, in the late 1990s, working in the Curry administration as development manager, I was involved in the planning. So I've literally been working on this for 20 years. A project of this magnitude, $500 million total development cost so far, is like building a mini city. And to do that, you need a large team of dedicated people working. The team concept is what's driving this project's success. So as the project manager working with this team every day, I want to take my time up here to publicly thank the key players who are making all this happen for us. First is County Executive Baker, who along with his Deputy Chief Administrative Officer, Tom Himmler, has supported us every step of the way. They've provided the mandate and the funding, and without that, there would be no project. Our county partner, the Revenue Authority of Prince George's Counties, led by Peter Shapiro, Donnie James, both here today, is acquiring additional properties and will be in charge of the development of those properties in the future phases. Thank you, Peter. Our Department of Public Works and Transportation with Director Daryl Mobley and Associate Director Kate Mazzara is helping us through the design process and the permit process. Our Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement has been vital in assisting us with the permit process. Thank you, Director Haitham Hijazi, and Associate Directors Dawud Abraham and Mary Giles. Next, I'll move on to our development managers, partners, and builders. Cobra Johnson and Romney is the development manager of the project. They have guided us through all facets of the development, including the plan approval process, design, permitting, procurement, and now the construction. The CJR team has been a great partner, shepherding this massive complex and doing an all-around great job for us. I want to thank their principals, Harold Johnson, Norman Romney, and our Mistress of Ceremonies, Nicole Cobra. Our townhouse builder is MVR. They will be building 219 high-end townhomes under the Orion Homes brand. Brian Afnan, Peter Pomponio, and Lisa McCauley are all here from MVR. They're doing a great job, and they've been great to work with so far. Our senior housing builder is a team led by Mission First Housing Group and joined by L.A. Bolden Company and the Henson Development Company. They will be building a state-of-the-art 137-unit senior building, which will break ground in 2018. Sarah Constant from Mission First, Lisa Bolden, and Dan Henson have all been great to work with. We also have a large contingent on our development team working daily on the project. Our land planner is Lasar Design, who helped come up with the design for the project, and it was a design that everyone liked from the start, including the approving agencies. Very unusual. Thanks to Steve Gang for that. Our zoning attorney is Arthur Horn of Shipley and Horn. Arthur, as usual, is doing a great job for us on the legal complexities. Our landscape architect, Parker Rodriguez, has designed a finished product that will make this a signature development with parks, upscale landscaping, lighting, walking trails, and outdoor fitness areas. Dennis Carmichael is the lead for Parker Rodriguez. I want to thank Ben Dyer Associates, our civil engineer, who guided us through the plan approval process. Steve Marsberg and Barry Kaysen, both here from Ben Dyer. Thank you very much. Next, we have our design civil engineer, A. Morton Thomas, who's designing the infrastructure that we're starting to build today. Their team is led by Max Cantor, Aaron Smith, and Phil Rhodes. O.R. George is our traffic engineer, led by Osborne George. And our infrastructure construction manager is K Group International, led by Carlos Ibarran and Joel Cruz. And finally, we have our site contractors. Pleasance Construction is doing the site demolition and rough grading. They're led by Eric Newquist and John Klein, and we're pleased to have Don Pleasance with us today as well. And I'm just about to wrap up, but I want to make one final note. I'm pleased to report that 59% of the contract dollars awarded to date for this project have been Prince George's County companies. We do have the talented firms necessary to complete a job of this magnitude. All right, I know that was a long list of team members, but that's what it takes to succeed. These companies and individuals are working hard every day, and I thought it was important to publicly recognize them. Thanks. Thank you for bearing with me.
Thank you, Steve. All right, just one moment here. Next up, we have our next speaker is Monty Cooper. who is the chair of the Board of Directors for the Redevelopment Authority for Prince George's County. As an experienced lawyer, Mr. Cooper brings his legal expertise to the RDA board as he helps to identify development partners and projects that will benefit the county and community, such as Town Square at Suitland Federal Center. And Mr. Cooper is also a partner of Crawl Mooring, in Washington, D.C. Please help me to welcome Mr. Monty Cooper.
Well, thank you very much. And today is a wonderful day indeed. Is that my microphone? Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Well, today is a wonderful day, as I mentioned. It's a great sound. It cranes and loud noises. First, I want to introduce our RDA board members, who I see some in the room. Ronette Earl, who I recognize in the back. Dr. Glenda Hodges, the great. Vice Chair David Harrington, I don't know if David is here, and Irma Bering, I don't know if she's here as well, and Irma's here? There she is. And John Tabori. Those are our other board members on the board of directors. Our executive director, Howard Ways, is out of town on business and regrets not being able to be here. I wish he could be here because so much of what we do at the Redevelopment Authority is work through with Howard and with Steve and that great team. And so, unfortunately, he cannot be here. I won't be long, but I wanted to share with you a few bits of history about the project and make some personal remarks as well. The need for the Redevelopment Authority, or the need for the redevelopment of Suitland, was the driving force behind the creation of the Redevelopment Authority, or RDA, 20 years ago. The RDA has been working on this redevelopment since then. We started acquiring properties in 2000, and to date it has taken over 160 property acquisitions to consolidate the site. The Revenue Authority is continuing to acquire properties to add to this project as we speak. The RDA has demolished 650 units of blighted residential housing. Built in the 1940s, by the year 2000, the property's best days, unfortunately, had been gone. It unfortunately had become unsanitary and unsafe to live in. And interestingly enough, when it was originally built, this area, the project had covenants recorded in it in the land records that forbid African Americans from living here. So this is, without question, important work that we're doing. The RDA is performing the role of master developer, which entails responsibility for the entire development, from plan approval and permitting to construction of the infrastructure, to attracting private sector partners to construct the buildings. This groundbreaking is the start of construction of the new infrastructure needed to support the buildings. Brand new utilities, streets, lighting, walkways, and public parks. The new development will be a vibrant neighborhood, one that is walkable, environmentally friendly, and just a great place to live. It will include 895 residential units, 98,000 square feet of new retail, and a 50,000 square foot performing arts center. The buildings will be LEED certified, and the entire development will be certified as a sustainable site. It will be, as you can imagine, a fantastic development, and we are so proud of it. I smile when I say all this because the people of Suitland, in fact, the people of Prince George's County, frankly, of which I'm a resident, we deserve this kind of development. This is our time, as Mr. Baker would say, for greatness. This is our time. Also, as I say this in closing, I smile because of two past experiences that come to mind as I was preparing these remarks. First, when I was first nominated to chair the board of directors, I had to speak to a number of people, county council members, Ms. Tolles, I'm looking at you, and those affiliated with the council, a number of folks. Two questions almost always came up. First, what is the Redevelopment Authority and what do you do? That was my first question. The second question was always, what are you going to do about Suitland? And I remember being, in fact, I'm looking at tolls. I'm a litigator for a living. Tolls drilled me like I was in a deposition. Talking about Suitland. Yeah, I picked up some pointers with Councilwoman Tolls, but it's a good thing because she cares so much about the community. But anyway, it's nice to be able to say that this is what we're doing about Suitland. Finally, 20 years or so ago, I was in college. I went to Georgetown University in D.C., and I met a girl there from Suitland who eventually became the wife of one of my best friends there. But she was always so proud to say she was from Prince George's County. In fact, she said PG County, so she could get away with that. And in particular, she was from a great community called Suitland. And she went to Suitland High. She was so proud of it. I mean, every time she talked, it was kind of like Bill Clinton. You hear the stories about Clinton when he was in college. He'd say he was from Arkansas. This lady would always say she was from Suitland. And she was so proud. And at the time, I had heard a lot about Prince George's County and the forward-thinking leadership of Wayne Curry in particular. And so as I began to think about my future, I thought, well, maybe I might just cast my lot out here as well. There seemed to be a lot of great things going on. And I remember once telling her that. And I won't forget it. She said in her best promotional way, she said that if you wanted to get to know Prince George's County, I needed to get to know Suitland because that's where its heart is. That's what she told me. Of course, as you all know, if you strengthen the heart, the body can do great things. And we're going to get this project done right. And when we do, we will take this county to its next level of greatness. I'm looking forward to the work ahead. I know our board is as well. And with that, I thank all of you for being here.
We have two wonderful additions to the program, so I appreciate your indulgence. First, we have Mr. Peter Shapiro. Peter, if you can come forward. He is the executive director of the Revenue Authority. Mr. Shapiro.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. I just wanted to reiterate what a number of my colleagues and friends and allies have said about the importance of this project and how long it's been coming. When acquisition was first starting in 2000, I was actually a council member, and I can't even tell you how much effort and energy there was at that time, and to see this come to fruition in this way is just a blessing. One of the things that's so exciting about this is that this is a vision that builds off the desires and needs of the community as well as the leadership of the county. It really will be a thing of beauty. The Revenue Authority will have invested $32 million in acquisition and working in close partnership with the Redevelopment Authority, we're going to do everything we can to make this happen and to make the project happen right. So I want to thank the county executive for his vision, the council member for her tireless effort, for her drilling of Monty, and to all of you for your patience, for your perseverance, and for your commitment to bettering the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. And I have to say, his point about vision is so important to having anything manifest for us. The alternate title for today was Believe It, Then See It. And I think that is such an important point to remember when bringing a project of this magnitude together. So thank you again, Peter. Next, we have Mr. Daryl Mobley, the Director of Public Works and Transportation. Daryl?
I will be very brief as I am not on the program. I want to thank Harold and the team for inviting DPW&T to say a few words. But I just want to simply say thank you to my boss, the county executive, for his vision and his leadership for this wonderful project here. And then my direct supervisor, Mr. Barry Stanton, the DCAO for infrastructure, for his support and guidance throughout this project. Our role in this project has been to work with all the other sister agencies within Prince George's County to make sure that we deliver this project and bring it to fruition. And someone pointed out to me that we've been involved in this on our end since February, and we've been meeting every Monday morning at 9 o'clock to make sure that we are here today to celebrate this wonderful occasion. And the question was asked of me, do we still have to meet Monday morning? Yes, we do. Because my boss wants to see buildings out here. So we will be meeting until this project is complete. So I just want to say thank you very much, and we're going to keep on working.
We are honored to be joined today by Delegate Dr. Darrell Barnes, who represents Maryland's 25th District. Delegate Dr. Barnes has been a member of the House of Delegates since 2015, and he currently serves as the Deputy Majority Whip and a member of several committees and subcommittees. However, he has been serving his community as a citizen for much longer. In 2013, he was awarded the Community Service Award from the Office of Prince George's County Executive. He too recognizes the vision and potential of the town square, and his continued support has been a boon to the project. Please help me welcome Delegate Dr. Darrell Barnes.
Good morning. You know, as I was sitting back, I know some wondered, how did Delegate Barnes get to speak before Senator Curry and Chairman Davis?
I'm asking her.
Well, let me just say that, you know, I pulled the short stick, so I won. So that clarifies that. But let me just say that I am very excited on behalf of District 25 and the leadership that this is a good day not only for Suitland and Prince George's County, but this is a great day for the state of Maryland. Because as we look around and we see the development that is taking place, I want to just give kudos where it's due. And I know we heard a lot about collaborating and the collaborative team that was built, but I want to give strong emphasis to Councilwoman Karen Tolles, and I think she deserves a round of applause. You know, 5 years ago, before I ran for the House of Delegates, I sat down with Councilwoman Tolles, and I said, hey, I have some ideas about what I want to do, and I want to bring a amphitheater to Prince George's County. And she said politely, just hold up. I'm working on some things that I want to do something special for my people right here in Suitland. And if you look at the renderings on the side here, you can see the hard work and effort that she put into it to make sure that today was a special day, not only for Suitland, but for Prince George's County. This is what I believe that our county executive has reiterated, that we are in the midst of an economic boom right here in Prince George's County. And as Councilman Davis would say, he wants to see cranes all over the county. And this is a great day right here in Suitland, and I thank you guys so much.
Now, this next speaker has a very special place in my heart, as well as I'm sure everyone in this room. We are honored to be joined by the Prince George's County Council member, Karen Tolles. Right? To mark the official construction. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Tolles has been representing District 7 since 2010, and she serves on several committees. A Prince George's County native and a student of Prince George's County Public Schools, Councilmember Tolles has a unique perspective on the development of this community, and as such, she has been instrumental in the process of bringing together the community leaders to make this project a priority. and she has never stopped advocating for the town square until it was approved. Please welcome Councilmember Tolles.
Thank you. Mel Franklin, come on and sit up here. I gotta call my colleague out. Wow, this is huge for the Suitland community. Let's start with a round of applause. So I've been tweeting last night. County executive retweeted some of the county agencies. I feel fall-tastic. Right. This is fall-tastic, isn't it? All right. They didn't teach you that word. They didn't teach you that word in public schools. I just made that up. But I have a degree, so I can do that. And guess what else? I prayed for the weather gods. It was freezing the past couple days, right? Ladies, you didn't need to pull out your furs because the God gave us great weather. Great weather. For a fantastic occasion. We're having fun up here. This is fun. This is fun. This has been 20 years in the making. And this project does not happen. A major project like this does not happen overnight. And in Prince George's County with term limits, Mr. Baker, you and I both know, we came in together, over here in this community, working together. It does not happen oftentimes in 8 years. But guess what? It took a village to bring this project. It took a village, you know how they say a village to raise kids? It takes a village to raise a redevelopment project, and we did it. And that is an applause line. We did it. But before, this is going to be a day of thank yous. But first I want to thank one person, Almighty God, because it was only God that directed my path and my steps to where I am. And one of my favorite quotes, I actually look at this while I'm studying 5, 7, 8 days a week, if that's even possible. Many of you all know for law school is ongoing. But Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the path I have for you, declares the Lord, the plans to prosper you and give you a hope and a future. Amen. Mr. Baker, I don't believe either one of us had any idea we were going to be elected. Now, this is my friend, he told you he ran 3 times, right?
Yes, I did.
How did we know we were going to be elected at this time, at this moment, and at this place? But look how the Lord works. He knew the plans that this community needed. He knew the path that we were on. This community, for the first time, had 2, I'm going to say we're pretty outstanding leaders. We are. That's right. 2 decision makers who were passionately connected to this community one way or the other. This county elected a Suitland native, myself, who purchased a home I grew up as a child, and I'm just completely blessed. Many young people don't have an opportunity to do what I had the chance to do. Purchase a property in Suitland from my parents who had other properties, but I don't know why I chose Suitland, but I live in Suitland. We're at the home I was raised in. So I know Mr. Himmler joked, you can't tell me about my neighborhood. I know. Right. I live here. I was raised here. Mr. Baker, for 3 of his kids, I don't know if there's 12, they kind of overlap, I know their ages and all of that, but for a very long time, he drove up and down this community, taking his 3 children to Suitland High School. God knew the plans that this community needed. How would we know that you would have a leader elected from this community and a county executive connected to this community? Which is why we were relentless. Relentless. Maybe a little bit more than me. Spent the last 7 years fighting. I did a little bit of screaming sometimes, Mr. Himmler. I'm sorry. He laughs me, he loves me. I'm his favorite. Sorry, colleagues. I will not tell you the stories that we had to endure to move this project forward. But we are here today. Amen. Amen. I had to use every negotiating tactic in the book My colleagues know it's the legislative branch and it's executive branch, and we all work together to move this county forward because we love this county. I said no to a lot of things, and thank you, Darryl Barnes. I said no to a lot of things, but I also said yes to a lot to move this community forward. And Monty, I'm laughing when he said I was drilling him. Monty and I knew each other before we got in, so he was like, that's just Karen. But I appreciate, thank you so much for your recognition. Let's give him a round of applause. Monty led the effort along with I had three women, Dr. Glenda Hodges, Irma Baring, and my late friend who I personally appointed to the board, who, and I don't want to cry, but it was a very sudden death at a very young age, was on the Redevelopment Authority board, Miss Leslie Friend. And yes. And I remember her, I was like, girl, you better get in there, you better fight, it's gonna be some problems, y'all better gang up on Monty, I don't care, you better get this thing moving. But these three fantastic women did. And I also want to recognize the Suitland Review Committee. They were not recognized. Many projects had to come through the Suitland Review Committee. And I see Davion Percy here. I don't know who else is here. Shirley Lathan, I see the yellow. Raise your hand. The DuPont Village community. The Suitland Civic Association community. But I want to say this. You all stood with me. We stood together. But I go back to 20 years. He is no longer here, but the late, better than great, Wayne K. Curry was the first one that tore down the blight in this community and said, not on his watch, as county executive, these buildings had to go. And so I know he is looking down right now, very proud of where we come today. I want to, before I go down my list, I'm almost done, Nicole. I want to thank my staff, because I got to start with them, my staff and former staff who are here, Plachette, Monica, Dwayne, Mingo, and Davion Percy, who I mentioned. I want to personally say I think Dwayne and Davion took the blunt of most of my cries in the trenches with this project. So thank you both for, moving it forward. My colleagues on the county council, Andrea Harrison, Mel Franklin, I'm going to stay with them for a moment. Andrea Harrison was chair. And what we did was we put a tax increment financing in place. And it wasn't very popular at first. It was a tool that we, in collaboration with County Executive Baker, used to be able to put money aside and to have a process in place so that they can purchase as many properties as possible. We took every tool in the book, and guess what? I won't tell you how we put that TIF together, because it's a story behind that, because we're legislators, but we made it happen. Andrea was here at the time. Mr. Franklin, I was chair PSFM, he was my vice chair. We moved that thing like nobody business. Thank you, Spoke. Can you stand up and give yourselves a round of applause? Mr. Franklin, Ms. Harrison. We made some things happen because I can't do anything by myself. And I want to also thank Danielle Galeros, because when I first came on the council, her former boss, Eric Olson, was my colleague on the council. But I remember when I first walked through the halls, I didn't know where I was going, trying to find a bathroom. I think I ran into Danielle, who is the chief of staff, and she says, anything I can do to help you with Suitland. I know that's a project that's been going on in Prince George's County. Anything I can do to help you. And I mean, we work together on food trucks and a number of projects to move the Suitland community forward. Danielle Galeros, our vice chair, thank you so much for your hard work. Can you please stand? Last but certainly not least, I want to take an opportunity. Darryl Barnes talked about partnerships. So I want to thank Senator Curry. I joked with him. I said, aren't you glad you supported me 8 years ago? Look what we done. He said he thinks so, but no, he says yes. It comes and goes. Sometimes he is, sometimes no. He's always proud. He gave me a scholarship to college. I was a page in the Maryland General Assembly. He was one of them, and I had no idea. I'm telling you, God knows the plans he had for me. It is not my plan, it's his plan. Senator Curry was one of my first supporters and been there for me well along. Thank you so much for believing in me, because I'm only here because of God. So thank you so much. Melanie Griffith, I don't know if she's here, and I see my good friend Derek E. Davis, who's the chairman of Economic Matters. Melanie Griffith and Derek Davis serve as leaders in the state of Maryland. We talk about partnerships. Not every county has someone chairing a budget committee or in leadership. Derek E. Davis and Melanie Griffith are my go-to people in Annapolis. Before Daryl Barnes got there, okay? I still love you, Daryl. You know that. But I got you. Daryl, me and Daryl are the street team for the whole District 25. We the street team. But before you got there, when I first got in office, these are two individuals that I relied on to make sure that we are able to bring as many resources back from the state of Maryland, because it's a partnership. Melanie Griffith had brought me $500,000 back. She gave it to Tom Himmler. She didn't give it to me. But I said, I don't care. Tom has the money. He's the money man in this county. He gonna find us. He gonna find a way to use that money. Derek E. Davis, the same way. Bring resources back. Thank you both. Let's give them a round of applause. Our dynamic state leaders. And in closing, I did mention. I do want to mention Tom Himmler, because we worked very closely together on this project. Very closely together. And oftentimes, I used to go like a kid, I go run and tell, Mr. Baker, did you know what Tom told me? No, I can't do this. What is he talking about? And it was a family affair, and I'm truly feeling fantastic right now, because I didn't think we would get to this point. Thomas, that's what his boss calls him, Thomas Himmler, thank you so very much for your relentless effort as well. Thank you so much. I also want to thank Harold Johnson of Cobra Johnson Romney, the development manager responsible for delivering the project. They have taken this highly complex project, a time-sensitive project, and moved it forward. When it was stuck for years, it was stuck because Mr. Baker and I wasn't here yet. And it's our day. I'm sorry, y'all. In the communities, we are so happy. You don't know. Forgive me. Bear with me, okay? I apologize. Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm just fantastic right now. But they know firsthand the promises that were made to the community. So I want to thank you both very much, and I appreciate you for you moving forward, especially Harold. Lord have mercy. He called me every 5 minutes about something. But we thank you. It got done. But that's what partnership does. To the community. To my beloved Suitland community, I can tell them, they would come and tell me, what are you going to do about getting Suitland moving forward? I said, I live here too. I care too. I want to be able to buy a cup of coffee, buy a bagel or something, shop in this community. We're not talking about buzz. Y'all see how they act? They talking about stuff they got nothing to do. Y'all see? I'm going to get y'all later when people not around. But thank you to the Suitland community, all the leaders in the community. Donna Edwards had her office over here. Thank you, Congresswoman Edwards, who had her office over here when she was a congresswoman. The Suitland community, we stood together. If you live in Suitland, stand up and be proud right now for the work that we done. Karen Anderson, Suitland Civic Association, y'all better stand up, stretch your feet. This is a day that we're all proud of. That's right, I see Leslie back there, fist bumping. Now, our time is now. The work continues. Thank you so much. Give him a round of applause. I mean, we're running together. Yes, we did this together. I love him.
All right. Passion, passion, passion. All right, girl. All right. Well, before I get to our final beloved speaker, we have been joined by Prince George's County Regional Director from Chris Van Hollen's office, Pokua Owusa. Achoo. All right, thank you. I apologize for butchering that. All right, but last but not least, finally, we are joined by the man whose vision today has been realized. Prince George's County Executive Rashern Baker is here today to commemorate the beginning of a revitalization of not only Suitland and the county. County Executive Baker has been serving Prince George's as county executive since 2010. And he has also contributed to key task forces in the region. In addition, he is a former member of the Maryland House of Delegates. He saw unmatched potential in Suitland and Prince George's County and has persevered toward making the town square a reality for years. Please welcome my HU alum.
You know.
You know. All right, Mr. Rashern Baker.
Thank you. Congratulations. I don't. Can we give Nicole and Harold a round of applause for the work that they're doing, please? Nicole, great job. I don't know how I follow that. I think it's appropriate that that Karen got a chance to speak, and she's right. I mean, we didn't know that our paths would cross. That is God's work. And us coming together in this community. But I want to thank her for her hard work, for her dedication to the Suitland community and to Prince George's County, as only a native could love a place. Can we give her another round of applause? And I do want to steal a line of hers. Can we have the Suitland community stand up again and give yourselves a round of applause for persevering, for holding our feet to the fire, because y'all did that. I also want to, it's going to be a round of thank yous also for me. This is a big deal. Now, I can't say it the way I want to say it because, everybody said, I was their boss, but I got a boss. Ms. Glenda Wilson, and she won't let me say it the way I want to say it. I was going to come in with Jay-Z. She said, nah, don't do that either. That's right. And we were going to do encore. Anyway, but I do want to thank Senator Curry for his steadfast support of this community and really being a forward thinker. Can we give him a round of applause, please? Certainly the people who have come together who work for the county, and they don't work for me. Like I said, I work for Glenda Wilson. So, they don't work for me. They work for the people of Prince George's County. I don't pay them. I don't have enough money to pay them. We work together, and they've done a great job. If I can, as I call them out, get them to stand up. Peter Shapiro, Darryl Mobley, Steve Paul, and Eric Brown, Monty. Can we give them a round of applause? Certainly want to thank them. We wouldn't be here today without their hard work. Thank you. You can sit down now. That worked pretty well. I can't help but think, quite honestly, as I was listening to Karen, how we got to be here today. What is the redevelopment authority? What is the revenue authority? And as she was speaking, I was thinking, how did they come about in Prince George's County? They came about under a man who, like Karen, loved this place more than anybody I've ever seen love a place. A love that I quite honestly don't get because I grew up in the military and you move every 2 years. So how well could you love and invest a place when you're there for 2 minutes? But he loved it. And he talked about it like it was no other place in the world. It was Wayne Curry who actually put the Revenue Authority together and the Redevelopment Authority. It was Wayne Curry who put what we did yesterday in the Arts District, Peter Shapiro. Now, as I said yesterday, Wayne ain't a touchy-feely kind of guy. So you put some art in there, I was like, okay, I don't know how that's going to work. but he understood redevelopment, he understood his community. It was Wayne Curry that invested in Suitland for the first time when people said, have you lost your mind? Clearly you must have bumped your head, Wayne, because why would you go to Suitland when you can go to other places that are much easier to invest in? Why would you do it there? There's so many obstacles to overcome. Because he understood the opportunities that were waiting in this vibrant, great community. He understood as only he could understand that if you think you can redevelop U Street and H Street when the Green Line is being torn up and when you have to anchor a government facility, then my God, you could do Suitland when you have a federal center here, you have the Green Line, you have these beautiful homes, you're a stone's throw away from the District of Columbia. He understood opportunity. And I had enough sense to follow that lead. I had enough sense to put it in a commercial where we stood right over there and talked about this community. As Karen said, I got a chance to know Suitland. I didn't really think I'd get a chance to know Suitland. I moved to Cheverly. So getting on this part of the town, unless I was lost, was something I never thought. But then my then my firstborn, who I love more than life itself, decided he was going to go to Suitland High School. There's my baby right there. Now those who know me know I am a nervous father. I'm especially nervous with black boys. So even though he was going to high school, his daddy followed him and visited him often right there at Suitland High School. And I probably should pause right here and thank the community, the Suitland community. Because while we live in Cheverly, my children grew up here. Their friends are from here. They came to parties here in this community. I followed them to parties here in this community. Because his sisters actually listened to him and not his dad, they all came here. And it was that coming here, as Karen said, that made me look around this community and understand how great it is. Finally, before I sit down, there are a couple of people I want to thank. Actually, there's one left. Karen mentioned him. Now, I'm really good at saying, I want it done. I don't care how you do it. I'm really good at that. It's opportunity here. We can see it. It's great. Make it happen. I can't tell you how to make it happen. I don't care how you do it. I want it done. And I want it done yesterday. And for these last 7 years, this individual has not only had to deal with Karen DeHost, but he's had to deal with me. And anytime I talk about Suitland to this individual, I do not call him Tom.
He said he's Joe.
I call him Thomas. And I say, Thomas, when am I going to get a groundbreaking at Suitland? Thomas, when are we going to get this done? He say, well, sir, I said, Thomas, I'm leaving office soon. I will be over there. I want you to meet me. And in the time that I've known him, he has never disappointed me. More importantly, he's never disappointed this county or this state. Can we give Thomas Himmler a round of applause? In fact, when we leave here, we will go and we have food trucks there at Hunter Memorial, where we signed as a council and as a group, the council were there, where we signed our economic development fund that has started growth so much in Prince George's County. And finally, there's another person I'd like to thank who's not here, but is dedicated to this as much as I am, and has been a part of this journey as much as I have, and probably even more. As my children know, and you ask my son, he'll tell you, I don't make no decisions at work, and I definitely don't make no decisions at home. It is my wife who decided that our children would go to Suitland away from our family. It is my wife who decided that we would invest in the community because the community had invested in us. And it is my wife who, when I took over this job, when she couldn't sleep at night, I would drive her to places that she talked about when she could talk. And I couldn't help but thinking as I was riding over here today as we passed Nova Avenue, how one night I stopped there in one of these sleepless nights about 2 in the morning, which is kind of scary. And she pointed and she said, I said, honey, we're gonna tear down these buildings. And all she could say was, ooh, you need to do that quickly. That pretty much was it. And what that did, and what I understood then, was time is not on our side. That people's lives are affected by each second, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's quality of life, whether it's living conditions. Time is the enemy. Especially if you're in a position where you're not in that community or in that situation. The lesson that she gave me that day stuck with me throughout my time here as county executive. It is why we're here today. It is why we push. God bless you, and thank you for being here.
I want you to remain standing. I want you to remain standing. You all recently, we're making a small change to the program because this is something that not only should be recognized by this community, but the project itself is being recognized nationally. So actually, Harold W. Johnson II, I'd like you to come up and present you and the RDA for a special commendation that you all have received.
So, County Executive, this project was actually awarded before anything is built and has been recognized by the American Society of Landscape Architects with a commendation to the Redevelopment Authority of Prince George's County for planning and analysis of Town Square at Suitland Federal Center. Congratulations.
All right, so dirt. Look at shovels in the dirt and faces up towards me, please. Everybody right here, please. We're gonna hold those closes, please. 1, 2. No dirt yet, guys. 1, 3. Everyone, look this way for me, please. Faces up towards me. 1, 2, and 3. Everyone got it? Now let's turn some dirt, guys. Now center.
Where are we throwing it?
Karen. All right, go right in front. Try not, disrespect the people. Hit my car. All right, guys. Choose a dirt toss on 3. 1, 2, and 3.
With that, the town square at Suitland